Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I would.
Okay.
Now that being said, I don't think it should have to be necessary. I mean, really, here's the contract with the American people. It's called the U.S. Constitution. And if we would just follow that, we wouldn't have to do these other additional contracts. I understand why they're doing it, and I would definitely sign it, though.
The contract from America is mostly common sense stuff that I don't think many people could really object to. So Kirby just made a joke. He says Jay Inslee would. But the fact is that we do have a constitution. We need to make sure that our government follows that our government is doing the right things for the people. Whether that's from a contract from America or whether that's a new contract with America, we need to make sure that as a country, when we're electing people in this election cycle in 2010, as we go through to 2012, we make it crystal clear why we are voting people like Arlen Specter out of office, why guys like Rand Paul are getting elected. And that's because of these things that we all believe in. And as long as that's crystal clear and people understand that, that's going to give us a basis to govern. He's already said to be a congressman. Already said to be a congressman. So the question about social issues. The fact is that as much as we all care about social issues are not the primary topic and issue set that's coming up in this election. This election, like Joe Biden said, three-letter word, J-O-B-S. Okay, old joke, but it generally works. You know, what I can tell you, I'm asked the questions about abortion and other things a lot. The real truth about that is that the labels of pro-choice and pro-life have been used to divide us and to separate people from talking about the issues on the economy and other issues where we have common ground. We're not going to be able, as members of Congress, to vote on pro-life versus pro-choice. We're going to have 3 votes that we're going to be able to make as members of Congress. We're probably going to be able to vote on partial birth abortion at some time, late-term abortion. I would vote against that. We're going to be able to vote probably on parental notification. I would vote for parental notification. And the third thing that we are probably going to be able to vote on as members of Congress is going to be federal funding for abortion. I oppose that. The interesting thing is that these are all majority opinions in the United States. And yet they're using this just as a wedge to pound on us and distract us from the real things that are going on. We can't just have that anymore.
Social issues, the fun stuff. So, on abortion, my own personal belief is that life begins at conception. That's my personal belief. I respect the fact that other people don't necessarily share that opinion. And we may agree on 95% of the other issues. I think we should focus on the 95% of the things we agree with and not necessarily the 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5% that we don't agree on. I would vote the exact same way that James just described. I believe man is between, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. I don't just believe that. This has been historically true through every civilization. So I am not for changing or disrupting that social structure. I also believe in states' rights. And I also believe that people should be allowed to do whatever they want to do in their bedroom between consenting adults without Uncle Sam peeking through the door lock. Okay? So I'm not for the government being a busybody and controlling people's private life, but I don't want to mess with the sacred bond between a man and a woman. Well, the popular answer would be to say that evil BP, who half of us probably go to every week to get gas in our cars, is responsible. And I thought that too. But what I've learned is that 2 weeks before, government inspectors certified that tanker for safety. And so how do you completely blame BP when the government went in there with existing regulations, with existing bumbling Barney Fife type regulators and certified its safety? And they take no responsibility for it whatsoever, do they? So the government is responsible for their lackluster job. In a free marketplace, there would be no cap. Right now, I believe there's, is it 75 million cap or something like that? Million? That a private company like BP would be liable for. I don't think there should be a cap. I don't think the taxpayer should be bailing out oil companies that make stupid mistakes. But I also don't think these politicians and bureaucrats that are vilifying and demonizing private industry to cover up for their own ineptness should be held unaccountable. So, yes, BP should be responsible for the role they played, and I'm not in on exactly what that was, but the federal government needs to take responsibility too.
When I was a kid, I started driving. I was driving in Virginia. And in Virginia, we had a system where the state would certify that your car was safe. It was a safety inspection you had to do once a year. If I got into an accident when I was driving that car, it's not the state's fault, it's my fault. BP is responsible for that oil rig and for cleaning up. So, I don't know about the fact that I get a clapping from our friend who's a Democrat, but we'll go with it anyway. The other thing on this oil rig, we have technology that we could have put in there that they're using in the North Sea. It's a kind of a coupling device that goes down at the bottom that actually seals when it breaks. The North Sea has had a wonderful record of safety with these oil rigs. We don't employ that same technology here if we want to. And I don't know why we didn't, probably because of the same reason that the oil company's got a cap on the damages. But the fact is the oil company is responsible for that. The last thing I guess I want to say on this BP, this oil thing, I've been diving on the oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, ones that are operating normally. And you can see the fish on them, and they don't seem to have a huge environmental impact. We need to fix the way that we do our offshore oil drilling because we need that oil. We can't just unilaterally say, you know what, we're never going to do it again. We've had these accidents before. We had one in the Gulf of Mexico. We've had the accident in Valdez, or the Valdez. And we didn't stop shipping oil. We can't afford that. We've got to do it, but we've got to do it safely. So it's up to BP to clean it up and to bear that burden. It's up to the federal government to do a much better job of regulation on this. Do you know that the federal government actually gave BP an award for how well they were managing that oil rig? I mean, how whacked is that? So, anyway.